Welcome back. If you recall last week's lessons, we took a look at the character and the manhood and the leadership, especially of George Washington, particularly focusing on how he was a faithful leader, someone who had vision, someone who was steady day in and day out, and somebody who really had commanding presence. What's incredible about the generation of founding fathers is we could probably take a lesson on each of them and also find similar attributes. Washington kind of is one of the greatest. He, of course, is the most famous. But we're going to take a look today at two of the junior founding fathers compared to Washington, but still chief members of our history. And that, of course, is John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. These men were really brother leaders. These men really reflect what you see, for example, in Psalm 133, which is why this lecture is titled after that psalm, How Good and Pleasant It Is. Let me read to you this passage. This is Psalm 133, so you have that down in your notes. Behold, how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity. It is like the precious oil on the head, running down on the beard of Aaron, running down on the collar of his robes. It is like the dew of Hermon, which falls in the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord has commanded the blessing, life forevermore. Now, it might be a little strange to you why I've quoted this psalm in connection to, say, Adams and Jefferson, who come centuries later in American history, and this, of course, is from ancient Israel. The reason is fairly simple. This is a psalm about brotherhood. This is a psalm that explains what the blessings of brotherhood look like. They look like rich oil, or they look like dew on the mountaintops. And it refers to people such as Aaron, who was the great priest, actually the chief priest of whom Christ eventually replaced when he came here. So it gives this whole idea of being united with God. Also, it mentions Mount Zion, which Mount Zion throughout the scriptures is always a mountain connected with heaven, connected with final things. So what this psalm really shows us is it shows us how brotherhood and eternity are connected. Because after all, we were all made in the image of God, and we were all made essentially for brotherhood or for unity in the first place. That's why the fall directly affected brotherhood, effectively created disunity. For example, the first murder you see is between brothers, between Cain and Abel. And brothers who fight against each other, such as Jacob and Esau, for example, litter the pages of the Old and even New Testament. And so, this whole idea of brotherly unity is extremely important because it shows a very rich blessing. In fact, it's a part of the normal Christian life, which is curious because neither John Adams nor Thomas Jefferson were what we would call Orthodox believers, but they were both men who pursued Christian virtues because they saw something of great value there. Now, along with Psalm 133, I want you to note yet another verse, and this is from the book of Proverbs, a great book of wisdom. This is actually Proverbs chapter 27, verse 6. Listen to this verse. Faithful are the wounds of a friend, profuse are the kisses of an enemy. This is a great example, a great picture of what Jefferson and Adams initially had and really their whole story. See, it works like this. When someone is your friend, they give faithful wounds. That means that if you have done something wrong or said something wrong, a truly faithful friend will actually point it out to you, even if it means it's going to hurt you, even if it means it's going to wound your pride or wound some aspect of you, because he would rather see you do the right thing and have an upright character than harm those eternal things about yourself. However, on the other hand, an enemy gives profuse kisses. That means that the enemy is typically the person who always flatters you. The enemy is the person who always tells you that what you're doing is perfect. It's just great. So really, the people who actually give you helpful criticisms, who actually tell you this is what you need to improve about this or that regarding yourself or your skills, etc., those are the people you often can trust because they actually care enough to tell you those things so that you can better yourself. That's a great picture of friendship, because in friendship, two friends, such as John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, sharpen each other. That's what made their brotherhood work. That's what made those two men stand out as incredible friends throughout the history of America, which is why their falling out and then their reconciliation is really the whole drive of our story for this lesson and the lessons to follow. But we'll take a look at that in the next video.